What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service. In today's video, we're going to talk about the biggest diet mistake that people make. So let's get started. So one thing I'm really proud of is the fact that Gauge Girl Training has helped over 30,000 people with their fat loss goals. And you would imagine working with that many people, I would see certain trends. And one thing I need to say and call out is the absolute biggest mistake I see people make is when people get started on their fat loss plans and goals, after they've made a certain amount of progress after about 3-4 weeks, a lot of people think that they need to continuously lower their calories to continue making progress and to bust out of plateaus. And while that can help you continue to lose weight, there's a bigger problem that a lot of people are missing out on. And I want to wake you guys up to realize that eating extremely low calories is probably going to be one of the biggest mistakes you can make with respect to your fat loss. And the reason for this is hormonal. And I'm going to get into explaining the number one reason why this is the biggest mistake and what specifically I recommend you do to not make this mistake. So if you guys have been through my macros tutorials, you will know that you do need to be in a caloric deficit to support fat loss. The problem is if you're taking a typical bodybuilder style approach to your nutrition where you're on relatively high protein, relatively low fat, and moderate amounts of protein, what's going to happen is as you tend to go lower in carbs with time, and it's going to happen where you'll drop your carbs down, what's going to happen is your body can begin to have some issues with the leptin hormone. Now, what is leptin? Leptin is a messenger hormone that comes from the fat cells. It goes from the fat cells and it travels to the brain in a specific part of the brain called the hypothalamus. When this happens, the whole purpose of leptin is to tell your brain whether or not the body has enough fat or fuel on hand. The problem is if you're on a diet for a long period of time and you continue to drop your calories, continue to drop your carbs, what's going to happen is your metabolism is going to drop. And when that happens, it's going to be harder and harder for you to lose weight. And the number one mistake people are making is that they are not introducing refeed days. Now, why should you introduce a refeed day? A refeed day is something that is actually going to help boost your leptin levels. So when your leptin levels are high, naturally, at the beginning of any sort of fat loss protocol, your brain receives a signal. It says, hey, we have enough fuel on hand, we have enough fat on hand. It's okay to raise the metabolic rate. We do not need to eat more. And the more fat you have, the more leptin you're going to have. However, there are some people who have something called leptin resistance. And you guys have heard me talk about insulin resistance in other videos, but I want to talk a little bit about leptin resistance. And this means that your body should not, I repeat, should not be getting the signal to eat more. However, the leptin messenger hormone is not able to transmit the signal from your fat to your brain that, hey, we're good, we don't have to eat more. And this arises due to high triglycerides in the blood, which results from eating excess carbohydrates. So at the beginning of a fat loss plan, you can have leptin resistance where you're just in a negative cycle of eating more because you think you're hungry, but you're not hungry. The problem is your hormones are imbalanced. And leptin resistance is something that actually can be determined by an endocrinologist, and healthy levels are between 4 and 6. So if you feel that you're really struggling to get started with a program because you are constantly feeling this need to eat more, even though you know you're practically eating enough food, you could have leptin resistance. So the thing is, that's something that's going to happen at the beginning of a program. Now, it will go down as you begin to lose fat, as you begin to make some progress. But the problem is it's going to eventually cause you to plateau. And if your leptin levels are low, the brain is going to receive a signal from your fat cells, which is where the leptin hormone is going to travel to. And the brain is going to receive a signal that says, we are going to need to eat more so we don't die. Feed me. And when you feel hungry, that is your hormones talking sometimes. And you shouldn't always necessarily ignore those hormones for the sake of sticking to your macros, because there are times where you do need to listen to your hormones. And one of those times is when your leptin levels drop. So I hardcore respect those who stick to their meal plans, who make sure they will do it no matter what, even if they're hungry, even if you're tired, even if you're cranky. But when your leptin levels drop, the brain perceives a caloric need and your metabolism is going to be lowered, and that's going to cause you to burn fewer calories. Again, biggest mistake people make when it comes to dieting, and that is the fact that leptin is responsive to glucose metabolism. So you can restore your leptin levels by strategically focusing on raising just your carb intake, not your protein, not your fat, but just your carbs. So we can call it cheat meals and stuff because people tend to just go higher on all of the macros. But if you are strategic at increasing just your carbohydrates by a factor of 1.3 to 1.4 after you've been on a fat loss plan for a solid 3 to 4 weeks with 100% compliance, you can strategically boost your leptin levels, keeping your metabolism high and not allowing your body to think that there is an issue with your metabolism. So keeping the metabolism high is extremely important, and a lot of people may think that it's counterintuitive to have periods where they eat more food while focusing on fat loss. And what I want to tell you guys is that eating more strategically via a refeed will help you boost your leptin levels, which will in turn help increase your metabolism. So if you are making this mistake by not including refeed days, what I suggest you do is this. Make sure you're 100% on track for at least a solid 3 to 4 weeks on a traditional bodybuilder style approach, macro approach. At around week 3 or 4, take your carbs, multiply it by about 1.3, 1.4, and once a week on a heavier lifting day, allow yourself to strategically boost your carbohydrate content to keep your metabolism high, to keep you continuing to lose fat. Don't just keep dropping your calories, because the hormonal concerns is a big piece that is missing a lot of the time, and I don't want you guys to miss out on that. So if you guys got questions, comment below. Let's have a chat in the comment section. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.